Argentina managed to win the World Cup again after 36 years. France, their opponents in the final match, were poised to retain the trophy, having won the previous one, so the game was on. Messi wore a red ribbon around his ankle, while Mbappe had wings on his feet like the comic book anti-hero in Wakanda Forever. So in hindsight, whose magic charm was more potent? Welcome! Looks like you've made it. In today's video, we'd be exploring how Messi and his teammates were able to win the Qatar 2022 World Cup. In safe hands? Or rather, is it in the hands of God? Who can forget that image of Emiliano Martinez with his top goalie trophy held to his groin? That was some classic stuff, depending on who you ask. Anyway, looking at Argentina's team now, it seems like Emiliano Martinez was the missing link the whole time. The Argentine national team had gotten to 3 finals between 2014 and 2016. But of course, they lost all those games in extra time. In fact, 2 of those 3 finals were lost on penalties. Now imagine if they had Emiliano back then. You'd agree that during the same period, Argentina was always shaky in the goalkeeper department up until 2021 when Emi made his international debut. And then, voila! They go on to win 3 international trophies back-to-back while keeping clean sheets in 2 of those finals. And to top it off, Emiliano saves a penalty at the World Cup final. So was it just a coincidence? We certainly don't think so. You could also call him Sensei or Professor X in the same breath. And that would be justified in how he marshaled his team to glory. The young-ish coach was one of the main reasons Argentina finally triumphed in the World Cup. He came into his role as Argentina's boss with no experience as a head coach, but he proved to be the perfect man for the job. After Argentina's horrible outing at the 2018 World Cup, Scaloni was hired to replace Sampaoli. Scaloni started as a caretaker manager along with Pablo Aimar, but he eventually got bumped up to the permanent role in 2018. He went on to lead Argentina to a 3rd-place finish at the Copa America in 2019. Despite the pressure from Argentine fans and officials against his leadership, he bravely went about solidifying the team. If only these naysayers had looked closely, they might have seen his tactical prowess back then. And from then onwards, things continued to improve as he gained job experience. 2 years later, he got another opportunity to prove his worth and grabbed it with both hands. He led Argentina to yet another final, which they won thanks to a tactical masterclass from him against Brazil in the final. This was Argentina's first major trophy in 28 years, but there was more to come. He outclassed Italy in the finalissima the following year. And here comes his masterstroke. During the World Cup, he approached each game differently depending on the opposition. So it made it hard for his opposite number to predict him. And it also helped that he's such a calming figure for the Argentine team. So even when everything seemed like it was going up in flames, Scaloni was on the touchline with a reflective but calm look. And you can guess what was going on in his mind. He was always thinking up a way out. So we can now say that without Lionel Scaloni, Argentina would not have won the 2022 World Cup. And you can take that to the bank. The first cut is the deepest. Argentina went to the 2022 World Cup with a great deal of confidence. They were on a 36-game unbeaten streak. They had also beaten almighty Brazil to win Copa America, and then Italy to win the finalissima. So they probably felt like they could beat anybody and no one could blame them. So we could argue that overconfidence and complacency cost them their opening game against Saudi Arabia. On paper, it should have been their most straightforward opposition yet. But now, wake up people! There are no minors in football any longer. However, that game immediately messed up Argentina's reputation in the minds of World Cup fans who may have felt they were the favorites, especially with the likes of Spain, England, France, and Brazil winning their opening games pretty comfortably. But that lousy result was a blessing in disguise for Argentina, as they obviously learned valuable lessons from it. They approached every single game after that with more caution and seriousness. Henceforth, they were careful not to make the same mistakes that they made against the Saudis. The loss at that point was essential to Argentina winning the World Cup. Otherwise, we can imagine them coasting through the group stages with a bag full of confidence and then getting their first loss in the knockout stages. Obviously, that would have been a lot more disastrous. Then there's the MVP, Lionel Messi. Without a doubt, Messi was one of the significant reasons Argentina became world champions in 2022. He proved yet again that he's the best player in the world and perhaps of all time. And please, By that statement, we're not trying to be insensitive to the great Pele, who just passed on a few days ago. R.I.P. Pele. Suffice it to say, Messi was not just an outstanding team player on the road to the World Cup. And to prove it, he turned out to be the World Cup tournament's best player by clinching the Golden Ball. He was also awarded the Silver Boot for being the second highest goal scorer with 7 goals, and 2 of those came in the final. As a leader, Messi always stepped up or showed up for Argentina at the World Cup, and the record Man of the Match awards, which he won 5 times in just this one tournament, is evidence of that. We've already mentioned that he was also a great leader on the pitch, and Messi led by example. When the team needed motivating, he would start with himself by playing with a little more purpose so they could notice. Fun fact, Messi had a lucky charm. It was a red ribbon he wore around his ankle for the final. Maybe this charm also played a role in Argentina lifting the World Cup. Whatever the case, we could go on and on about how important Messi was to this World Cup win. But one thing we are logically not allowed to say is that Messi did it alone. And we can't do this because we realize an entire team of equally good football players pulled their weight. And just as it was said in the Avatar movie, "Guys, we see you. Teamwork will surely win." It is true that Messi easily outclasses every single player on the Argentine national team. And to be fair, you could also say the same for almost every other player in the world. But the truth is that a tree doesn't make a forest, and everyone could see that the Argentinian players also fought for the trophy. Each one of them did their best, almost like what the Portuguese team head coach was trying to pull off by benching Ronaldo. There was Alvarez, who was Messi's strike partner. He was excellent at pressing and also got 4 crucial goals for Argentina. Otamendi was solid at the back with his insane leaps and timely tackles. Romero was also great for most of the tournament. And even though these 2 cost the team vital goals in the first and last games of the Mundial, it's quite fortunate that they didn't cost Argentina the trophy itself. Molina, Acuna, Tagliafico, and Montiel were also great. They pressed hard from their fullback positions and still contributed to goals throughout the tournament. In addition, DePaul and McAllister were great in midfield. While one was a valiant presser and aggressor, the other proved himself to be a technically gifted midfielder. Then, of course, there was the young player of the tournament, Enzo Fernandez, who showed tremendous maturity for a 21-year-old in the heart of the Argentine midfield. Di Maria did what he does best, creating chances throughout the tournament and scoring for Argentina in yet another final. Even Lautaro Martinez, who seemed to miss too many opportunities, was there to score the decisive penalty kick against the Netherlands. He was also involved in Messi's second goal in the final. And of course, there was Emiliano, who we've already talked about. So the point is, Argentina's World Cup victory was a team effort overall. As such, they deserve to be world champions. All for the fans. Any victory would be incomplete without the fans. And so this shout out goes to the Argentine football fans. And even so, to the fans of all the teams that competed at the World Cup. Despite the economic restrictions due to the pandemic, the fans still broke their piggy banks to travel to the World Cup. Never mind those haters who said they wouldn't go to Qatar for the sake of cancel culture. The venues were well attended, and the fans represented that 12th man advantage each team needed. But we suppose the Argentine fans were the best, so they got rewarded for their support. So kudos to Messi, his teammates, and to Scolani. But, of course, you are also allowed to send your shoutouts to them in the comments section if you like. And finally, in our YouTube football game, there are only 3 rules. Subscribe, like, and tackle that notification bell. See you in the next video.